Hi everyone, my name is Ed Ishman. I'm the Dev Manager for the ECC team, and basically what I wanted to show you was the new feature functionality of what I'm referring to as VS monitoring. You come over to the monitor on the left-hand side. You'll see that we have virtual service environments now listed out of the box. So this is not a sandbox feature. Up until now, it's been a sandbox feature, and it is no longer sandbox. It's live. So I've set up an environment where I have 2 VSE servers, and what we'll do is we'll drill. With regard to the VSE servers, you'll notice if I right mouse click on the VSE server, I can configure the settings that are specific to that server. So for instance, tracking the data cleanup, I can then manipulate this however I see fit. I need to have admin privileges to have this particular functionality available. You won't be able to configure settings unless you're an admin. If you want to go in and view the services and recordings that are running on that VSE server, you can then go ahead and drill in by left mouse clicking like I just did here. And once you drill in, this left mouse click and this viewing is available to anybody with SV power privileges. So I did want to point that out. There's a access permissions situation there that I wanted everybody to be familiar with. Okay, and the first thing you might notice on this display is that we've combined both the services view and the recordings view together on a single table. So I wanted to make sure that that's one of the key differences. If you remember going back to Server Console, we had services in one tab and recordings in the other tab. So I wanted to make sure that I brought that to your attention there. They're all in one table, and now you can see them all within one foul swoop, and everything's right in front of you and easy to work and manipulate. The next thing that I wanted to point out is similar to the test monitoring feature that we have some status bars, summary status, right across the top here. And you can see we have 6 total services, 5 total recordings. And then you'll see this individual statuses underneath there. We have simplified, greatly simplified these statuses. We had about 6 or 7 different statuses that were exposed in the old Server Console. And some of those were just very brief statuses, for instance, like starting a service or stopping a service. So now when you go and you start a service, you won't ever see service starting as a status. It'll jump immediately to running. And if you stop that service, it's going to jump immediately to offline. So we've consolidated the statuses that are exposed. And so you'll have running, offline, and fail for statuses and services. And in the case of recordings, you'll have recording, offline, and fail. So we greatly simplified the whole status mechanism. The next thing I wanted to talk about was with regard to the table view that we have here. The columns are basically what you might remember from Server Console. In Server Console, we have this display that's split screen. So we had some things down here and other things listed across the display up on the top. What we did now is we actually put all of the columns from, so considering, let's say, the service, let's say, considering one of these services here, we're going to list out each and every one of those details that you saw in the split screen mode all across the columns here. Now, what we did so that we didn't shrink all of the columns too much is that you have this control here in the upper right-hand corner for configuring which columns are viewable. So as you can see right now, current transaction and peak transaction, right now I have disabled, and they are disabled out of the box. Those are actually two fields that would have been on that split screen panel on the bottom part of that. Same thing with last start and last end. Those once again. So what we did is we took those items that were split screened and we made those disabled out of the box, and everything else is enabled. And you have the ability now to see basically all of your details right here in this table view. Now, if you so choose, you can go ahead and click on this little eye right here, and now you get what would have been the bottom half of the split screen view. The interesting thing to note here is you can still do edits. So I can, if I can type here, I can still go ahead and add in any kind of group tag that I might want here, and I can click on Save to go ahead and add that group tag into this particular row. And I can go ahead and update capacity, and I can update the think scale as well. Auto restart, same situation there. So I have all edit capabilities here. So I wanted to point that out to you. Now, one thing you might notice too is that I can double click right there on that entry in the column and make the update there. So now I've removed that group tag that I just added. Notice the whole row turns red. Another thing you'll notice is that I put save and reset buttons up here after you make that edit update. So right now, although I've made that update, it hasn't been saved yet. And the third thing that I want you to notice is that up here in this right-hand corner, there's a little auto refresh tab. So out of the box, this thing is set up to automatically refresh every 10 seconds. And what happened here is I'm in the process of making an update, so we turn off the auto refresh until you click Save or Reset. So if I was to click Save, you'll now see auto refresh has been reset to the previous state it was before I made the update. And then another thing you might notice about the auto refresh is that we have a control mechanism here so that you can bump this up to be less frequent if you so choose. You also have the ability to do a dynamic refresh at any moment in time as you see fit too. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about while we were talking about column updates is taking a quick look at the execution mode. As you guys know, execution mode is going to vary depending on the type of service that you're dealing with at that moment in time. So in this case, we have a very simple execution mode display, so I can make edits to that, but it does so via a pop-up like that. And if I wanted to make an update here, then I get a slightly different one for that type of service. And once again, these are all going to be options that you had familiar that should be familiar based on the old server console. But we do have this pop-up, and you can dynamically make updates to these to the execution mode as you see fit. You can also update capacity and think scale and auto restart, all within this same view. Another thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is that since we're working in a table view here, it might be perfectly conceivable that you may want to do an action on more than one service at a time. So what I can do is I could add a group tag Whoop. I can add a group tag, and sure enough, you'll see that I have the group tag added out here. So you can do actions on multiple different rows. the thing that that right now is you'll see that all of this menu bar up here is all for group actions. Since I've only selected services, I have all of these options available to me. Because I now uncheck this offline one, I can actually choose that stopping is an option, okay? But as soon as I choose one that is now offline as well as running, you'll see that these are dynamically changing. If I was to go ahead and choose one of my recordings, you see that basically at this point, the only thing I can do is remove these items from the actual VSE server. So let me take a step back and mention that the category is the thing that tells you exactly whether this is a recording or a service. This is our normal service service icon that you guys might be familiar with, and this is the recording. So you can very clearly see all the recordings are going to be at the top of your view, and all the services are going to be at the bottom of the view. Another thing you might notice is that we have actions. So I can start a recording. I can take and look at the message view. So you'll see here for recording, here's the message view. You can see both error and informational messages get output. However, if I click on the error-specific entry here, it gives me an error-only view of the errors that have happened. So the info messages are not going to be there. And that's going to be true for all of the different items. So here I have 2 errors. And if I was to view messages over here, you'd see that I have a couple errors with an info in it. So it actually throws a filter on there to show you only the errors for that particular recording. Moving on down to, let's see here. I got through those already. Let's move on down to the services again. And I want to actually show you the bottom one here because that's the one that I have data set up for. Whoops, I'm sorry. Let me talk about one more thing that you can see on the bottom. This is the normal table view thing that we have here. And what we want to do is we want to change this page size to show all of the and we want to show all of the views. And this is the one that we want to show here. And you can see that we have stateless, and come down here, and you can see that this is the learned information, the information that was not on the was not in the VSI file. So essentially, we have this ability here to do all of the session information. So we can do a display here of all of the session information. I can also, actually let me go look at the inspection view from this one. And you can see here that we get all the normal inspection view information. This is a scrollable item. And you can see all the data there. Trying to think of what other things here. And once again, if you were to come over here and click on the errors, it'll jump in context directly to that same page that I was looking at. One of the things I wanted to point out was that the reason we put all of the services and recordings together on the same panel is that we envision administrators coming in and drilling into these specifically because perhaps they want to shut down a particular VSE server. So maybe they want to check out and say, okay, well, who am I going to impact? Okay, well, I don't have any recordings going on this server, so I'm just going to be impacting these services. So that's kind of the perspective, the thought process that we went through, and why we wanted to be able to show both of these things on the same screen at one time.
Yeah, good point. Definitely a great point, Ed, and it's really a helpful view for an administrator who is handling recordings and virtual services at the same time. So,
thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
So long, everybody. Take care, Ed, Stefana.
Thanks. Thanks, Tom. Bye-bye.